Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Griffin. I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm also the mom of three children. And I'm joined here today by my colleague, Dr. Heather Forkey.
Hi, I'm Heather Forkey. I'm a pediatrician and also the mom of 5 kids. So a lot of what we talk about are things we've also experienced.
And Heather, there are so many events happening in the world right now, and there's a lot of tough stuff going on. And we're hearing a lot from parents on with a major question: how do I talk to my kid about the difficult things that are happening in our world? How do I best support my child?
Jess, that is so true. I mean, but not just now, kind of all the time. There's actually bad things that happen all through life. And what I try to help families to remember is that it's not just the bad things that are happening, it's whether there are adults there to help support the child through it. In pediatrics, we've come to understand this as positive, tolerable, and toxic stress. And the idea here is that kids actually experience stress all the time. Most of it's really positive. It's things like the final exam or the playoff game, things that are tough for kids, but allow them to grow and to move on and build skills. Then there are things in life that we would consider pretty bad, things like grandparents dying, people not being able to go to school, um, or a house fire. These things are experiences that in and of themselves are pretty just hard to handle, but they happen usually within the context of caregivers buffering those kids. And so that's what makes those stressors more tolerable and helps those kids to manage that stress. When we consider a stress toxic, it's something that's really bad, but not just because this event is bad. It's really bad because adults aren't there to help buffer the kids through it. And so the truth is that although bad things are going to happen, kind of now for sure, but also in life generally, what matters most is whether kids know that you as the caregiver are there for them. Just Can you talk a little bit more about how parents can show that they're there for the kids?
Yeah, sure, Heather. As much as we want to protect our children from everything, we can't do that. And it's natural, it's biologically driven that as parents, we want to protect our children from stress and hearing difficult things. But unfortunately, there are times that we have to talk to our kids about difficult subjects that are hard for even the grown-ups to wrap our heads around. And so for parents, for example, with very young children, children ages 7 or under, I would advise them to refrain from speaking about difficult topics unless kids are bringing it up or that they're very knowledgeable of it. And watch what you have on your television. If you have the news running throughout the day, you want to refrain from doing that. And I would discourage parents from talking, from forcing your child to talk about it until they're ready to do so. But prior to having those conversations with kids, parents will want to prep yourselves ahead of time so you can be clear on your messaging and ask yourself, what is it that I want my child to know about this? What do I want my child to know about what is happening, given that families have different sets of values and cultural and religious beliefs? So you want to be comfortable with what it is that you're conveying. Is there some sort of life lesson you want to share or not, in addition to teaching children the facts about the situation? We can help to protect kids' psychological defenses in a few ways. When something bad happens, talking with them and providing factually correct information that's appropriate for their age developmentally, and acknowledging any feelings that they may have about it. For school age children and adolescents, we want to also ask, what do they know about what's happened and where did they get that information? This can be an opportunity for us to talk with our kids about what they know and address any misconceptions that they might have about what's happened. Sometimes if kids don't have all the information, they'll tend to fill in the blanks. So we want to make sure we're clear on what they know and where they heard it from. But if your child asks you a question, it's okay to say, I don't know. As much as we want to have all of the information for our kids and we want to have all the answers for our children, we don't always have them. So you could say something like, you know what, mommy doesn't have the answer to that right now, but why don't we see if we can work together to find out the answer? Or dad doesn't have the answer to that right now, but I'm going to look into it and find out for you. Or, you know what, honey, sometimes there just aren't good answers to these kinds of questions. So we advise parents to keep the door open and say things like, if something's bothering you about this or you have more questions about it or big feelings about it, I want you to know you can always talk to me about that. Heather, anything else you would add?
No, that's been really helpful, Jess. Hopefully this has been information that will be useful to you and your family when bad things happen. But if what you need goes beyond just this advice, feel free to reach out to your pediatrician or local mental health provider to get specific support for you, your child, and your situation. We thank you so much for joining us.